So a common functionality seen in modern blogs is the ability to click on a username of another user and have their profile dashboard display. And you would also see some of their latest activities, such as their posts. And this is what we'll implement in this section. We'll have the ability to click on a user's profile name from our main forum and then display that user's posts. So we'll need a new directory for this, and we can call this directory profile. And let's start with our usual imports. So we need React and component, and then we need connect from React Redux. We also need the link from React Router DOM. We need the actions, Axios, moment, and then we're going to be displaying the user's posts in a card. So we'll need our card imports as well. And finally, we'll just have a button. And then let's just initialize our class with an empty div for now. So as mentioned, we're going to be accessing our show user page from the main forum. So let's go to our post.js file and then set up the routing. So let's go down to our render post functional component and then add a link. And we'll wrap the author name with the link. And then we can also pass in styling of padding left 5px, text decoration none. And then 2 will be /user/post.post.author. So the username of the user will be in the URL. And then we can also pass in the entire post to the state property as well. And we'll also display the posts in a card in our other user profile page. So let's just copy the code from here and then paste it to our show user.js component. And we can also get rid of the link element here. So we can now set up our component did mount method. And here we're going to do two things. We're going to call a get request to get the user's profile data from our database. And then we're also going to get all the posts associated with that user. And we're going to do both of these things with just the username of the other user. So let's start with our first axios.get request. And this will be API/get/other user profile from DB. And then we'll pass in the username to the params property. And again, this is all something we've seen several times before. And then we do a .then statement and then res, and then this .props.set profile res.data. And again, this is how we're going to save the user profile data to our Redux store. And then our second axios.get request will be /API/get other users post. And same thing, we pass in the username to the params. And then we do the exact same thing with the .then statement. And then finally, we need window.scroll top 0 left 0. Because when a user's scrolling through the post and they click on a username, the page is not going to automatically go to the top. So if they click on a username of a post that's at the bottom of our post.js component, it's going to stay at the bottom. So this is just how we ensure that the page is on the top when a user clicks on another user's profile. And then let's go to the bottom of our file and then set up the map state to props and map dispatch to props functions. And again, we haven't set up these properties or actions yet, but we will in a second. So let's just do first user profile and then state.user_reducer other user db profile. And then user posts, we do state.user_reducer.db other user posts. And for actions, we do set db posts, we pass in the posts, and then we do dispatch actions get other user db posts. And we do the same thing for the profile as well. Then next we'll do the render profile. And we'll keep it simple for now. We'll just display the user name in AH1 in large heading tag. And since we're passing in the profile as a props, we can just access the username with props.profile.username. And then in our render method, we can use a ternary expression to display this render profile. So our condition is going to be this.props.userProfile. And then if true, we do this.renderProfile, and then we set a profile prop and then pass in this.props.userProfile, and then the first element in the array. And if false, we'll just do null. And then after this, we'll do a header of latest activity, and then we'll display each of our posts. And we'll do this in a very similar way to what we've been doing. So we'll just do this.props.userPost as the condition, and then we'll just run the map function on the user post. And then to give a little bit of space between each post, we can do div and then this.renderPost key, because again, this is an array. And then the key is just going to be the PID, and then we'll pass in the entire post as well. And then also do BR as a element after the render post. And again, this will just give a little bit of space between each post. And then we'll just have our closing div tag. And that's it. We can now import our show user component to our routes.js file. So let's go here, and then remember it's /profile/show user. And then the path will just be /user/:UID, and then component equals show user. And that's it. There's nothing really complicated we have to do to set up the user's route. So let's now set up our Redux store. And we'll of course start with the action types. So the first one is going to be set other user DB profile. We need remove other user DB profile and set other user posts and remove other user posts. So let's now go in our actions.js file and then set up some action creators to work with these action types we just set up. So let's just copy and paste our other action creators to save us a little bit of time. And remember, the actions we want are going to be get other user DB post and set other user DB profile. So this is the names we will set here. So let's first start with our set other user DB profile. And remember to pass in profile as the parameter and then set it to the payload. Then we can do the same for remove other user profile. And then we can do the exact same thing for get other user DB posts. And now let's set up our reducer. So we'll need two properties, other user DB profile, which will initialize to null, and then DB other user posts, which will just be an empty array. And then let's just set our case statements as we've seen many times before. And make sure do not wrap other user profile DB or DB other user posts in an array or an object. Just leave it action.payload. So we can now move to the server side and set up our routes and SQL queries. So as mentioned, we'll just need two routes, one to get the user profile data and then one to get the user post. So let's start with getting the user profile from the database. So let's first set the username const to a string of rec.query.username. And remember, rec.query.username is what we're getting from our client-side app from the show user component. And again, it's contained in the params property, which is the second argument we set in our axios.getRequest. And we'll run the string function on it. And then we'll do pull.query and then select all from users where username equals $1. And then we'll set username in a array. And then we'll have our queue_error and queue_res arrow function. And then we'll just do res.json and then return the rows to our client side. And then we can just copy and paste this get request and then we'll modify it a little bit. So we'll do API/get/other user posts. And then the username const can stay the same, but our SQL query will be select all from post where author equals $1, because remember, there's no username column in the post table, it's author. And then we just pass in the username const in an array. And of course, we'll just get res.json and then the rows. And then the last thing we have to do is just go to our show user component and then connect our map state to props and map dispatch to props to the show user component. And that's it. That's all we need to begin testing our app. So let's go to our browser and go to our forum. And to save time, I've already pre-populated the forum. And if we click on test91, yep, we are directed to the user/test user URL, and we see all the posts that test91 made. So perfect, it is working as intended.